Have you ever wondered why silence sometimes speaks louder than words? It's strange how, in a world overflowing with noise, the most powerful message can come from saying absolutely nothing. That's the paradox we'll explore today, how the act of ignoring, when done with purpose and discipline, can hold a power few people truly understand. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a heated argument. Words are flying back and forth, emotions are running high, and every part of you wants to react, to defend, to explain. But then you decide to pause, you step back, and you say nothing. That silence, calm, deliberate, and composed, can do more than 1,000 words ever could. Why? Because silence commands attention. It creates space, and in that space something remarkable happens. Power shifts. In this video, we're going to uncover the fascinating intersection of dark psychology and Stoicism. We'll talk about why ignoring someone, particularly in relationships, can be so effective. But let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about mastering yourself, your emotions, and your reactions. It's about living with intention and understanding the psychology behind human behavior. And yes, it's about discovering how Stoic philosophy can guide you to a calmer, more controlled way of being. Before we get into all of this, let me ask you a favor. If you're interested in Stoicism or curious about mastering emotional control, I'd really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more people who, like you, want to explore these transformative ideas. And if you've already done that, thank you. Your support truly means a lot. So, why does ignoring someone hold so much power? It's not just about silence, it's about what happens in the absence of words. When you withdraw your attention, you shift the focus entirely. It's a psychological phenomenon, deeply rooted in how our minds work. But here's the key. This isn't just a tactic to gain the upper hand in relationships. It's a tool for reclaiming your energy, protecting your peace, and staying aligned with your values. We'll also explore how Stoic principles, like emotional detachment and focusing on what's within your control, play into this. You see, Stoicism isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about being unshaken, steady, and grounded. It's about responding instead of reacting. And when you understand this philosophy, you'll see how ignoring isn't just a strategy, it's a mindset. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we delve into the deeper aspects of psychology and philosophy, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever been in a situation where silence changed everything? Maybe in a heated argument, a tense moment, or even a relationship where words seem to lose their meaning. If you've experienced something like that, share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how it played out for you. All right, we've got a lot to unpack. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's explore the dark psychology of ignoring women through the lens of Stoicism. This is about more than just relationships. It's about mastering yourself. Let's begin. Let's take a closer look at the fascinating science behind ignoring. This isn't just a social tactic. It's rooted in psychological principles that explain why ignoring can be so impactful. From the scarcity effect to the way our minds fixate on unresolved interactions, understanding these ideas can help you use this approach with intention and clarity. Think about the last time someone pulled away emotionally. How did it make you feel? Perhaps a bit confused, maybe even frustrated. But there's also a good chance it made you think about them more. It's an odd reaction, isn't it? When someone stops giving us attention, it doesn't push them out of our minds. It often pulls them in even closer. But why? What's happening in our brains that makes this so powerful? This phenomenon is what psychologists call the scarcity principle. We tend to place a higher value on things that are less available. It's a fundamental part of human psychology, and it's not limited to relationships. From limited edition sneakers to once-in-a-lifetime travel deals, Our minds are wired to chase what seems hard to get. When someone withdraws their attention, they're signaling scarcity, and scarcity creates value. But that's not all. Another psychological principle at play is something called the Zeigarnik effect. To put it simply, this effect describes how our brains latch onto unfinished business. When a task, or in this case an emotional interaction, is left incomplete, our minds keep returning to it, trying to resolve it. Imagine you're watching a movie and it suddenly cuts off before the ending. You'd keep thinking about what might have happened, wouldn't you? That's exactly how the Zeigarnik effect works in relationships. When someone stops engaging, your mind doesn't get closure. Instead, it starts spinning. You wonder why they've pulled away, what they're thinking, and what you might have done wrong. And in doing so, your focus shifts entirely to them. This is why ignoring, when used intentionally, can have such a profound impact. But let's pause for a moment and reflect on this. Why is it that when someone ignores us, they suddenly seem more intriguing? It's because attention is one of the most powerful currencies in human relationships. When you give someone your attention, you're signaling that they're important to you. But when you withhold it, especially without explanation, it creates a gap, and gaps demand to be filled. This isn't just a psychological trick, it's deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. As social creatures, we're wired to seek connection and avoid rejection. When someone ignores us, it triggers a sense of uncertainty. And uncertainty, ironically, can be incredibly engaging. It keeps us invested, trying to make sense of the situation, and often amplifies the feelings we already have. Now let's bring this back to everyday life. Think about a time when someone you cared about suddenly became distant. Maybe it was a friend, a partner, or even a co-worker. Did you find yourself replaying conversations, looking for clues about what might have gone wrong? Did their absence feel louder than their presence? That's the power of ignoring. It redirects attention and creates a psychological pull. But here's an important distinction. The power of ignoring isn't just about creating intrigue. It's also about reclaiming your energy. When you choose not to engage, you're not just sending a message to the other person. You're also setting boundaries for yourself. You're saying, I won't waste my energy on something that doesn't serve me. And that, in itself, is incredibly empowering. This brings us to another crucial aspect of ignoring, the way it shifts dynamics in relationships. When you pull back, it forces the other person to re-evaluate their position. They might start wondering what they've lost, or why you're no longer engaging. It creates a sense of balance, especially in situations where the dynamic might have felt one-sided. But let's not mistake this for manipulation. Ignoring isn't about playing games or trying to control someone else's behavior. It's about taking control of your own actions and emotions. It's about understanding that your attention is valuable and choosing to direct it where it matters most. Now, there's one more thing to consider when it comes to the science of ignoring: timing. Not all situations call for silence, and not all silences have the same effect. Context matters. If you're ignoring someone to punish them or avoid accountability, it can backfire. But if you're using it as a tool for self-preservation, reflection, or establishing boundaries, it can be incredibly effective. So why does all of this matter? Because understanding the science behind ignoring helps you use it with intention. It's not about manipulation or power games, it's about mastering yourself. When you know how and when to withdraw your attention, you're not just impacting the other person, you're also building your own emotional resilience. You're practicing detachment, one of the core principles of Stoicism, and in doing so, you're reclaiming control over your life. Take a moment to think about how this applies to your own experiences. Have you ever noticed how someone's silence can feel louder than their words? Or how a sudden absence can make you realize just how much you value someone's presence? These moments aren't just coincidences, they're a reflection of how our minds work. And when you understand that, you can navigate your relationships with clarity and confidence. So, the next time you find yourself in a situation where emotions are running high, consider this. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Silence isn't empty, it's full of intention. And when you wield it wisely, it can transform not only your relationships, but also your sense of self. Let's take a moment to explore how Stoicism's core principles apply to relationships. At its heart, Stoicism is about mastering your emotions, focusing on what you can control, and letting go of what you cannot. These ideas are incredibly powerful when it comes to navigating personal connections, helping you stay grounded, set boundaries, and build healthier, more intentional relationships. Have you ever wondered why some people seem unshaken, even in the face of emotional storms? That's one of the many gifts of Stoicism, a philosophy grounded in emotional resilience, clarity, and focus. At its heart, Stoicism teaches us to separate what we can control from what we cannot, to act with reason rather than reaction, and to find peace within ourselves instead of seeking it in others. These principles have stood the test of time, and when applied to relationships, they can transform the way we connect with others and ourselves. Let's start with emotional control. In relationships, emotions often run high. Words can hurt, tempers can flare, and misunderstandings can spiral out of control. But Stoicism reminds us that our emotions are not in charge. We are. When someone says or does something that triggers us, we have a choice: react impulsively or respond with intention. The difference might sound subtle, but it's everything. Imagine someone close to you tests your boundaries. Maybe they make a hurtful comment or act in a way that feels dismissive. Your first instinct might be to lash out, to defend yourself, or even to withdraw entirely. But what if, instead, you paused? You take a deep breath, you let their words settle, and you ask yourself, is this worth my peace? How I choose to respond? Does it align with my values, or am I just reacting to their behavior? This is emotional control in action. It's not about suppressing how you feel. It's about deciding how to channel those feelings constructively. Then there's detachment. Now, this is a principle that's often misunderstood. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't let external events or people dictate your inner state. When you ignore someone, it's not about punishing them. It's about maintaining your own peace. It's about recognizing that their actions are theirs, not yours, and choosing not to let those actions destabilize you. Here's how you can start practicing emotional detachment in daily life. First, recognize what you can and cannot control. For example, you can't control someone else's feelings or behavior, but you can control how you react to them. Second, set boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. Decide what you will and won't give your energy to. Third, remind yourself that detachment isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about staying centered in your own values, regardless of what's happening around you. Think about it. How often do we lose control over things we can't change? A partner doesn't respond to a message, and we spiral into overthinking. A friend cancels plans, and we feel rejected. These reactions are natural, but they're also within our power to change. By practicing detachment, we free ourselves from the need for constant reassurance or validation. Instead of clinging to outcomes, we learn to find stability within ourselves. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of focusing on what's within your power. In relationships, this can be a game changer. Think of how much time and energy we waste trying to control how others feel about us, whether they stay or leave, or how they perceive us. None of that is within our control, and yet it often consumes us. When you shift your focus to what you can control, your actions, your words, your mindset, you take back your power. You stop being a passive participant in your relationships and become an active creator of your experience. Here's a real-world example of this. Imagine you're in a conflict with someone you care about. They're angry, maybe even accusing you of something unfair. Your instinct might be to argue back, to defend yourself, or to prove your point. But what if, instead, you focus on what you can control? You stay calm, you listen, you respond with clarity and compassion, but you don't let their anger pull you into a reactive state. By doing this, you not only de-escalate the situation, but also preserve your own emotional balance. This is where ignoring comes into play. When someone's behavior starts to drain your energy or test your boundaries, ignoring isn't about shutting them out. It's about choosing where to direct your focus. It's about saying, I value my peace more than engaging in this negativity. And when done with intention, it's not only a form of self-respect, but also a way to reset the dynamic. Let's bring this back to the bigger picture. Stoicism teaches us that true strength isn't found in controlling others. It's found in controlling ourselves. It's about being so rooted in your own values that you're unshaken by external chaos. And in relationships, this strength creates a kind of magnetism. People are drawn to those who are calm, composed, and grounded. It's not about being distant or aloof. It's about showing up as your best self without being swayed by every emotional tide. Take a moment to reflect on your own relationships. How often do you let someone else's actions dictate your emotions? How often do you react instead of respond? And how might things change if you embraced these Stoic principles, if you practiced emotional control, cultivated detachment, and focused only on what's within your power? These principles aren't just philosophical ideas, they're tools for living a better life. They remind us that we don't have to be at the mercy of our emotions or the actions of others. We can choose how we respond, where we focus our energy, and how we show up in our relationships. And as you begin to apply these ideas, you'll notice something incredible. You'll start to feel lighter, calmer, more in control. You'll realize that ignoring isn't about them, it's about you. It's about reclaiming your power, protecting your peace, and living with intention. That's the Stoic way. And when you embrace it, you'll find that your relationships and your life will never be the same. Let's take a closer look at an intriguing aspect of this topic, the dark psychology angle. This might sound mysterious, but it's really about understanding how human behavior works on a deeper level. Ignoring someone, when done intentionally and responsibly, can create curiosity, shift dynamics, and even prompt reflection. But this isn't about manipulation. It's about recognizing the power of subtle actions and using them to foster clarity and growth, both for yourself and others. Have you ever felt more drawn to someone simply because they seemed out of reach? It's an intriguing aspect of human behavior. How scarcity and mystery can make us yearn for connection even more. This is where the concept of dark psychology comes into play. While the term might sound ominous, it's not inherently negative. Dark psychology is simply the study of how certain psychological principles can influence thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. In relationships, understanding these dynamics can be incredibly revealing. Let's start by addressing a key point. This isn't about controlling others. It's about understanding human behavior. The idea is not to manipulate or harm, but to learn how subtle shifts in actions, like ignoring someone, can evoke powerful responses. When used ethically and responsibly, this knowledge can help you navigate relationships with more clarity and intention. So, why does ignoring work? The answer lies in how our minds are wired. Ignoring creates a sense of uncertainty, and humans are naturally drawn to resolve uncertainty. When someone doesn't respond or engage as we expect, it leaves a gap, a question that demands an answer. This gap often triggers curiosity, making us wonder, why aren't they reacting? What's going on in their mind? That curiosity can quickly evolve into intrigue, especially when emotions are involved. Another factor at play is how ignoring can shift the balance of attention. Think about it. When we're ignored, our brain perceives it as a form of rejection, and rejection, even subtle, can spark a desire to reclaim what's been lost. It's a psychological tug-of-war where the lack of response amplifies our need for acknowledgement. This isn't manipulation, it's a reflection of how much value we place on connection and validation. Let's consider an everyday scenario. Imagine you've had an argument with someone close to you. They've said something hurtful, and you feel the urge to respond immediately, to defend yourself, or to confront them. But instead, you take a step back. You don't text, call, or explain yourself. You remain calm, giving the situation and yourself space. That silence, deliberate and measured, can speak volumes. It forces the other person to reflect, to sit with their own emotions, and often to reconsider their actions. This isn't about punishing them, it's about protecting your own peace. When you choose silence over reaction, you're setting a boundary. You're saying, without words, I won't be pulled into this negativity. And often, that silence carries more weight than anything you could say. But there's an ethical line here, and it's one we need to address. Ignoring someone shouldn't be used as a tool for manipulation or control. It's not about making someone feel small or unworthy. Instead, it's about reclaiming your own energy and redirecting it where it serves you best. For example, if someone is being disrespectful or dismissive, remaining silent can communicate your boundaries more powerfully than words. Silence, in this context, is not a weapon, it's a shield. Let's take another scenario. You're dealing with someone who consistently tests your patience, maybe through constant criticism or passive-aggressive behavior. In these moments, reacting emotionally might only fuel their actions, but by choosing to disengage, you remove their power to provoke you. It's a way of saying, your behavior doesn't define my response, and in doing so, you maintain control over the situation and yourself. But why does this approach evoke such strong emotional responses in others? The answer lies in what psychologists call the uncertainty principle. When someone acts in a way that's unexpected, it disrupts the other person's mental script. They begin to question their assumptions and often their own actions. That disruption can be a powerful catalyst for change. However, this knowledge must always be used with care. The goal isn't to create emotional distress, but to foster clarity and respect in relationships. Ignoring someone as a means of manipulation, like playing hard to get or intentionally creating insecurity, can backfire. It erodes trust and undermines the foundation of healthy connections. But when done with intention and integrity, it can be a tool for growth for both parties. Take a moment to think about your own experiences. Have you ever been in a situation where someone's silence left a lasting impact? Maybe it made you reflect on your own behavior or deepened your curiosity about their perspective. These moments aren't accidental. They're a testament to the power of restraint. And let's not forget the role of self-respect in all of this. Choosing to ignore someone isn't just about what it says to them, it's about what it says to you. It's a way of prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being, of saying, I deserve peace, and I won't let external chaos disrupt that. This mindset aligns closely with Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes the importance of focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. In relationships, this can be transformative. When you stop chasing validation or trying to control someone else's perception of you, you free yourself. You become less reactive, more grounded, and ultimately more attractive, not because you're playing games, but because you're embodying confidence and clarity. But here's the thing, this isn't about perfection. We're all human, and emotions can be messy. There will be times when you slip, when you react instead of respond, or when your silence feels more like avoidance than empowerment. And that's okay. The goal isn't to get it right every time, it's to approach each situation with intention and awareness. So, as you think about the role of ignoring in your own relationships, ask yourself, am I using this strategy to manipulate, or am I using it to protect my peace? Am I withdrawing to punish, or am I stepping back to reflect? These questions are crucial because they ensure that your actions are rooted in integrity, not ego. In the end, the dark psychology of ignoring isn't about darkness at all. It's about light. It's about illuminating your own strengths, your boundaries, and your capacity for self-control. When used responsibly, it's a tool that can transform your relationships and your sense of self. That's the power of understanding human behavior, not to control others, but to master yourself. Let's take a moment to explore the deeper connection between emotional control and Stoicism. This isn't just about holding back your emotions, it's about mastering them, understanding them, and using them in ways that align with your values. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. And when it comes to relationships, that response can make all the difference. Have you ever felt that surge of emotion? The kind that comes out of nowhere and pulls you into a storm of frustration, anger, or even sadness. It's part of being human, but it's also one of the biggest challenges we face in relationships. Emotional control is often seen as a sign of strength, and for good reason. When you can manage your emotions, you're not just reacting to the world around you, you're shaping your experience of it. This is where Stoicism becomes a powerful guide. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. It's not about ignoring your feelings. It's about deciding how you act on them. That distinction is critical. Suppressing emotions can lead to resentment and burnout, but managing them with intention leads to clarity and strength. Imagine a situation where someone you care about says something hurtful. Maybe it's a sharp comment or an accusation that feels unfair. Your instinct might be to defend yourself, to lash out, or to let anger take over. But what if, instead, you paused? You took a moment to breathe, to let the emotions settle, and to choose your response. That pause is where emotional control lives. It's where you reclaim your power. Think about the last time someone pushed your buttons. What if you had responded with calm instead of anger? What if you had chosen to listen instead of react? How might that have changed the outcome, not just for the other person, but for you? Emotional control isn't just about keeping the peace with others, it's about finding peace within yourself. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is the idea that emotions aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we handle them that matters. Anger, for example, can be a powerful motivator, but it can also be destructive if left unchecked. The Stoics didn't believe in denying emotions, but in mastering them. They taught that by understanding our emotions and choosing how to respond, we could live more balanced and fulfilling lives. Here's a practical way to start practicing emotional control. Deep breathing. It sounds simple, but when emotions run high, taking a few deep breaths can ground you in the moment. It creates a space between the trigger and your reaction, allowing you to think more clearly. Mindfulness is another powerful tool. By staying present and observing your thoughts without judgment, you can prevent yourself from being swept away by emotional waves. And then there's reframing. Choosing to see the situation from a different perspective. Instead of thinking, why are they attacking me? You might think, maybe they're having a tough day, and this isn't about me. When you control your emotions, you control your destiny. That might sound like an overstatement, but consider how much of your life is influenced by how you feel and how you react to those feelings. Relationships, work, health, everything is touched by your emotional state. By learning to master your emotions, you're not just improving one part of your life, you're transforming all of it. Let's look at a relationship scenario. Imagine you're in a disagreement with your partner. Things are getting heated, and both of you are starting to say things you don't mean. In that moment, you have a choice. You can escalate, adding fuel to the fire, or you can step back and choose a different path. Maybe you say, "Let's take a break and talk about this when we're both calmer." That one decision, rooted in emotional control, can completely change the dynamic. It's not about winning the argument, it's about preserving the relationship. Stoicism also teaches us the value of detachment, not in the sense of not caring, but in not letting external events dictate our internal state. Detachment allows us to observe our emotions without being consumed by them. It gives us the freedom to choose how we respond, rather than being at the mercy of our impulses. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine your emotions are like a storm. You can't stop the storm from coming, but you can decide how you weather it. Do you let it toss you around, or do you anchor yourself and ride it out? The Stoics believed that by focusing on what's within your control, your thoughts, actions, and mindset, you could stay grounded, no matter how turbulent the storm. But let's not pretend this is easy. Emotional mastery is a lifelong practice. There will be moments when you slip, when you react instead of respond, or when your emotions feel overwhelming. And that's okay. What matters is that you keep trying, that you approach each situation with intention and awareness. Over time, those small moments of control add up, and they change the way you move through the world. One of the most inspiring aspects of Stoicism is its practicality. It's not about lofty ideals or abstract theories. It's about what you do every day. It's about pausing when you feel anger rising, choosing patience over frustration, and finding strength in restraint. It's about showing up as your best self, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So, the next time you're faced with a situation that challenges your emotions, remember this. You don't have to react immediately. You don't have to let the storm control you. Take a breath, step back. Ask yourself, what's within my control? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? These small acts of mindfulness and intention are what emotional mastery looks like. As you begin to practice this, you'll notice something incredible. You'll feel less reactive, more grounded, and more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. You'll realize that emotional control isn't about denying your feelings. It's about owning them. It's about living with purpose, with clarity, and with peace. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present, to show up, to reflect, and to grow. Emotional mastery isn't something you achieve overnight, but with each moment of control, you're building a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. That's the power of Stoicism, and that's the power of you. Now, before we go any further, let's address something important: the risks and ethical considerations of using the art of ignoring. This approach can be powerful, but like any tool, it depends on how you use it. If it's done thoughtfully, it can help you protect your peace and set boundaries. But if it's misused, it can easily come across as manipulative or emotionally distant. Let's talk about how to use this responsibly, with empathy and intention. While the power of ignoring can be a valuable tool in relationships, it's important to approach this strategy with caution. Used responsibly, it can help set boundaries and preserve your peace. But when misused, it can easily come across as manipulative, cold, or even emotionally unavailable. That's why understanding the risks and ethical considerations of ignoring is essential, not just for your relationships, but for your personal growth as well. This strategy works best when it comes from a place of self-respect, not revenge. If you're using silence to punish someone or to make them feel small, it's no longer about protecting your energy. It's about trying to control theirs. And control, when it comes to relationships, is a slippery slope. Healthy connections are built on trust and mutual respect, not power plays. Let's consider an example of when ignoring might be misused. Imagine you've had a disagreement with a partner. Instead of addressing the issue directly, you decide to give them the silent treatment, not to protect your peace, but to make them feel guilty or uncertain. While this might get their attention in the short term, it erodes the foundation of the relationship. Over time, this kind of behavior creates distance, resentment, and mistrust. It sends a message that problems are avoided rather than resolved, which can be damaging to any connection. Now let's look at a more responsible use of ignoring. Suppose someone close to you is being consistently disrespectful, dismissing your feelings or crossing your boundaries. In this situation, choosing not to engage isn't about punishing them. It's about protecting yourself. By stepping back and giving the situation space, you're signaling that you value your peace more than the drama. You're not trying to control their behavior. You're simply refusing to participate in something that doesn't serve you. The difference here is subtle but significant. One approach is rooted in ego and control, while the other is grounded in self-respect and clarity. The first fuels conflict, while the second promotes growth for both you and the other person. Another risk of ignoring is that it can sometimes be misinterpreted as indifference. In relationships, communication is key. If someone feels ignored without understanding why, they might assume you don't care about them or the relationship. This can lead to hurt feelings and unnecessary misunderstandings. That's why it's important to pair silence with intention. When you choose to ignore, make sure it's clear, even if only to yourself, that your goal is to protect your peace, not to push the other person away. Here's an example to illustrate this balance. Imagine a friend constantly interrupts or dominates conversations, leaving you feeling unheard. Instead of reacting with frustration or confrontation, you decide to step back. You listen less, engage less, and let the silence speak for itself. Over time, this might prompt them to reflect on their behavior. But if they approach you to talk, be open to having that conversation. Ignoring isn't about closing doors, it's about creating space for respect to grow. Empathy is another crucial element to consider. While ignoring can be a powerful tool, it should always be used with care and understanding. Ask yourself, is this silence serving a purpose, or is it causing harm? Am I creating space for resolution, or am I adding to the conflict? These questions ensure that your actions align with your values and that you're acting from a place of integrity. Balancing self-respect with empathy means recognizing that while your peace matters, so does the other person's experience. For example, if someone reaches out to apologize or clarify their behavior, be willing to listen. Ignoring doesn't mean shutting people out forever. It means giving yourself the time and space to decide how to move forward. It's about choosing your battles wisely, not avoiding them altogether. Let's also talk about emotional availability. One of the risks of relying too heavily on ignoring is that it can make you seem distant or uninterested in building meaningful connections. Stoicism encourages emotional control, but it doesn't advocate for emotional detachment in the sense of being unapproachable or cold. Being composed doesn't mean you can't be vulnerable or open. It just means you choose when and how to share your emotions. Think of it this way. Ignoring isn't about shutting people out. It's about letting them in on your terms. It's about creating boundaries that protect your energy while still leaving room for connection. And when you approach it this way, ignoring becomes less about distance and more about discernment. It's not about rejecting others, it's about respecting yourself. In relationships, this distinction is vital. Ignoring someone to manipulate their emotions will always lead to imbalance and instability. But using silence as a way to maintain your peace and set healthy boundaries can foster growth and mutual respect. The difference lies in your intention. As you think about the role of ignoring in your own life, ask yourself, am I using this strategy to punish or to protect? Am I acting out of ego, or am I aligning with my values? These reflections are key to ensuring that your actions are rooted in integrity, not impulse. And this brings us back to the essence of Stoicism. This philosophy isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about finding strength in restraint, clarity in silence, and peace in self-awareness. When you approach relationships with these principles in mind, you're not just building stronger connections, you're building a stronger version of yourself. So, the next time you're tempted to ignore someone, take a moment to reflect. Is this silence serving your growth? Is it fostering understanding, or is it creating division? By approaching this strategy with intention and empathy, you can use it as a tool for self-respect and clarity, not as a weapon of control. In the end, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Stoicism reminds us that every choice we make, every action we take, shapes who we are. By using the knowledge of ignoring with care and intention, you're not just protecting your peace, you're embodying the principles of personal growth and self-mastery. And that's what true strength looks like. So, let's shift our focus for a moment and talk about how these principles, emotional control and the art of ignoring, extend far beyond personal relationships. This isn't just about navigating conflicts or setting boundaries with loved ones. It's about how these skills can transform your work, your friendships, and even your mental health. It's amazing how learning to stay composed and intentional in one area of life can ripple out and improve everything else. Emotional control and the art of ignoring are not limited to navigating personal relationships. They're tools that can transform nearly every aspect of your life. Whether you're dealing with workplace challenges, managing friendships, or protecting your mental health, these strategies can help you stay grounded, composed, and resilient. When practiced consistently, they don't just improve your interactions with others, they also create a sense of inner peace that touches every corner of your life. Let's start with the workplace. Careers are often filled with moments of pressure, conflict, and criticism. Deadlines loom, tempers flare, and decisions are scrutinized. In these high-stakes environments, emotional control is one of the most valuable skills you can possess. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague unfairly criticizes your work in front of others. Your instinct might be to defend yourself immediately or even retaliate. But what if, instead, you chose silence? By letting their words pass without reaction, you shift the dynamic. Instead of escalating the situation, you give yourself time to process. Your silence shows confidence and control, making their criticism seem smaller in comparison. Later, when the emotion has settled, you can address the issue calmly and with clarity. This approach not only preserves your professionalism, but also enhances your reputation as someone who can handle challenges with grace. Another practical application is in friendships. Even our closest friends can sometimes hurt us, intentionally or not. Maybe they cancel plans repeatedly, make an offhand remark that stings, or fail to show up when you need them most. Reacting emotionally in these moments might lead to unnecessary arguments or resentment. Instead, choosing to step back and ignore the behavior, at least temporarily, can create space for reflection. For example, if a friend says something thoughtless, you might feel the urge to confront them immediately. But by pausing and giving the situation some distance, you allow yourself to assess whether it's worth addressing. Sometimes, the best response is no response at all. And if the issue truly matters, you can revisit it later with a clearer mind and a calmer tone. This balance of patience and discernment is what strengthens friendships over time. Mental health is perhaps where these skills have the most profound impact. Our inner world is often shaped by how we react to the external one. Negative comments, stressful situations, and unresolved conflicts can weigh heavily on our minds. But when you practice emotional control and the art of ignoring, you create a buffer between yourself and the chaos around you. You learn to protect your peace, even in the face of adversity. Consider a scenario where someone close to you constantly complains or brings negativity into your space. Their energy can easily drain yours, pulling you into a cycle of frustration or helplessness. But when you choose to disengage from their negativity, not in a dismissive way, but with quiet confidence, you set a boundary. You're saying, "Your emotions are yours, not mine to carry." This simple act of detachment can have a powerful effect on your mental health, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. Here's a practical tip for daily life. When faced with negativity or criticism, pause before you respond. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you don't have to react to everything that's said or done. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It shows that you value your energy enough to choose where and how to spend it. These principles can also help you navigate larger challenges like career setbacks or personal failures. When things don't go as planned, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt or frustration. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control and let go of what isn't. By reframing the situation, you can turn setbacks into opportunities for growth. Instead of thinking, "Why did this happen to me?" you might ask, "What can I learn from this?" This shift in perspective not only reduces stress, but also empowers you to move forward with purpose. Another way to apply these strategies is in social media and online interactions. In today's digital age, it's all too common to encounter criticism, negativity, or even outright hostility online. Engaging in arguments or trying to prove your point often leads nowhere. It only drains your energy and peace of mind. Ignoring these interactions, however, allows you to maintain control over your emotions and your time. Think about it. How often do we let a single comment or message ruin our day? By choosing not to engage, you're not admitting defeat. You're reclaiming your peace. This approach can be liberating, freeing you from the need to constantly defend or explain yourself to others. Practicing emotional control and the art of ignoring also builds resilience over time. Each time you choose silence over reaction, patience over impulsivity, or detachment over overthinking, you're strengthening your ability to handle life's challenges. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. And that strength isn't just for the small moments, it prepares you for the bigger ones too. When you embody these principles, you'll notice a shift. Not just in how others respond to you, but in how you feel about yourself. You'll feel calmer, more grounded, and more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. You'll realize that emotional control isn't about denying your feelings, it's about owning them. And the art of ignoring isn't about shutting people out, it's about protecting your energy for what truly matters. These skills extend far beyond relationships, touching every area of your life. They help you stay composed under pressure, navigate conflicts with grace, and maintain a sense of balance in a world that often feels chaotic. They remind you that you don't have to react to every situation, that silence can be a powerful response, and that your peace is always worth protecting. As you begin to apply these ideas in your daily life, take a moment to reflect on the changes. How does it feel to let go of the need to react, to prioritize your peace over someone else's chaos, to approach challenges with calm and clarity instead of fear or frustration? These small shifts might seem subtle, but they add up to something profound. In the end, emotional control and the art of ignoring aren't just strategies, they're ways of living. They're about showing up as your best self, even when life feels overwhelming. They're about finding strength in restraint, growth in patience, and peace in self-awareness. And when you embrace these principles, you're not just improving your relationships or your career, you're creating a life that feels more balanced, intentional, and free. That's the true power of these skills. So, as we wrap up today, let's talk about where all of this leads and what you can take away. This is the part where we tie everything together, a conclusion, if you will, and talk about what comes next for you. Think of it as a chance to reflect and take action. Throughout this journey, we've explored the fascinating dynamics of emotional control, the art of ignoring, and how these principles tie into Stoic philosophy. What's clear is that ignoring isn't about turning your back on others, it's about turning inward, toward yourself. It's about choosing where to focus your energy, staying true to your values, and finding peace in the midst of chaos. Remember, ignoring isn't about them. It's about protecting your peace and staying true to your values. It's a tool, not a weapon, and its power lies in its intention. When used responsibly, it can help you set boundaries, regain emotional balance, and approach your relationships and your life with clarity and purpose. Think about how often we give our attention away, letting others dictate how we feel or react. By practicing emotional control and knowing when to step back, you're reclaiming that power. You're saying, I choose how to respond. I choose where my energy goes. And that choice, it's one of the most empowering decisions you can make. We've talked about the science behind ignoring, the importance of emotional mastery, and how these ideas extend beyond relationships into friendships, careers, and even mental health. The consistent thread running through all of this is self-respect. When you respect yourself, your time, your energy, your peace, you naturally begin to live with more intention. You stop reacting to every trigger and start responding in ways that align with your highest self. But let's be honest, this isn't always easy. There will be times when your emotions get the better of you, when you feel compelled to react or when staying silent feels unbearable. That's okay. Growth isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about recognizing those moments and choosing again and again to act with intention. As you reflect on what we've covered, think about where these principles could fit into your own life. Are there relationships where you're giving too much of your energy? Situations where your reactions are draining you instead of serving you? Moments where stepping back and saying nothing might actually say the most? These questions aren't just theoretical, they're practical tools for self-awareness. And here's the beauty of it all. When you start practicing these ideas, you're not just changing how others see you, you're changing how you see yourself. You'll feel calmer, more in control, and more aligned with who you want to be. You'll realize that emotional control and the art of ignoring aren't about creating distance. They're about creating space to think, to grow, and to live in a way that feels authentic to you. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about the bigger picture. Stoicism isn't just a philosophy for dealing with others, it's a way of life. It's about finding strength in restraint, clarity in chaos, and peace in presence. By embracing these principles, you're not just improving your relationships or your mindset, you're creating a foundation for a life that feels grounded, intentional, and free. If this resonates with you, I want to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments. Have you ever practiced silence or stepped back from a situation to protect your peace? How did it feel? What changed? Your stories might inspire someone else to start their journey toward emotional mastery and self-awareness. And if you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss future insights. Together, we're building a community of people committed to growth, reflection, and living with purpose. As we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. Life will always have its challenges, moments of conflict, doubt, and uncertainty. But in those moments, you have a choice. You can react or you can reflect. You can let the storm dictate your direction, or you can stay anchored, grounded in who you are and what you stand for. So, the next time you're faced with a situation that tests your emotions, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, what's within my control? How can I act in a way that serves my peace and my values? These small moments of intention aren't just practices, they're transformations. And over time, they'll shape not just your relationships, but your entire life. You've got this. You're capable of mastering your emotions, of protecting your peace, and of living a life that reflects the best version of you. And that journey, it starts right here, right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.